Visa, MasterCard, Sam's Club, and Victoria's Secret. What do all these merchants have in common? They extend credit to their customers. Whether you have one or not, chances are that you've been offered the opportunity to have one of the amazing deals that they offer. The problem is that so many people in America, specifically young Americans, don't understand the value and worth of having credit and using it wisely. Drowning in debt is stressful, and we willingly volunteer to sign up for such a thing. Now, according to creditcards.com, credit card debt is the absolute most common form of debt because it's the easiest to obtain. Credit card companies solicit through the mail. They have websites, and heaven forbid if you have to call into the bank for customer service, that representative is going to offer you that card 15 different times before you get off the line. So what does this all mean? It means that we, meaning all Americans, need to learn to live within our means and stop being so impatient when it comes to purchases. Now, many times, the items that we purchase aren't even needed at that time, and we would have been much better off just saving up the cash and purchasing the item outright. Now, although we want things that will appease us immediately, we must consider the total amount of interest being charged by the company, the relevance and necessity of the item being purchased, and how long it takes to pay it off. Now, let's start with the word interest. According to Wikipedia, interest can be defined as the price paid for the use of borrowed money. So, let me get this straight. Not only do I have to pay for the item, but I have to pay you to let me buy the item. Now, when you think about it, it really doesn't make any sense. Now, oftentimes, depending on how interest is calculated, you could possibly pay more in interest than you paid for the original item. Now, most interest is actually calculated on a daily basis. That's according to my very own credit card statement. That is important to know because you do have to realize that every day you carry a balance, you're being penalized for that balance. It's not calculated on a yearly basis like most people assume because they see those letters APR standing for annual percentage rate. Now, finweb.com teaches how to calculate your interest. And the short version of that, the company actually takes your APR, they divide it by the number of billing cycles in the year, which is normally 12, and they multiply that by the balance. Now, of course, this process varies from company to company, but the end result is that you're paying a hefty fee to gain access to the service or that new toy that you just had to have. Now, avoiding interest is actually very simple. As long as you pay off your purchase before your next billing cycle starts, you will not have to pay interest. So basically, the company gives you a grace period. But if you haven't properly assessed or budgeted your disposable income, then there's a high chance that you're going to continuously carry that balance for months, maybe even years to come. Now that we know how to calculate interest and how to avoid it, let's move on to why the card was ever swiped in the first place. Now, some use credit to actually manage their finances, which is great, but others use credit cards to feed the impulse to shop. Now, everyone wants to have new things, but we've learned that not waiting can actually be costly in terms of interest. Now, impulse shopping can actually get you into credit card debt extremely, extremely fast. And it's only because that purchase wasn't planned, it wasn't thought about, you have no idea where that money is actually going to come from. Now, impulse shoppers don't have a clue because they're usually not very good at budgeting and really knowing how much cash that they have to spend. Now, credit card debt is easy to get into, but complex to get out of. Why? It's because most Americans don't have a clear sense of the timeline towards becoming debt-free. Now, they're satisfied as long as they can make the minimum payments. The minimum payment is the least amount of money that company will allow you to pay against your balance. Now, About.com, it does state that your minimum payment is only maybe about 1 to 3% of your total balance. Now, that means that by the time you're done paying off the card, you will have spent years making minimum payments and paid maybe somewhere around the range of 200% of the original amount that you spent. Now, can you imagine taking 5 years to pay off jeans and lattes? Sounds ridiculous because it is. Now, credit card debt in most cases is pointless. Instant gratification can cause years of struggle and countless amounts of money accumulated in interest. Pay cash if you can. Just save the money and then you can buy the item outright. Impulse shopping gets you absolutely nowhere but a bill to pay every month. Now, when trying to figure out how to successfully run your business of income, then credit card debt has no business being in that equation. Now, we all need to figure out other ways to make purchases, ways that may not include the instant gratification factor. Now, everyone pull out a credit card and chop it up. Just say no to credit card debt. Thank you for your attention in this pressing matter. Good night and happy credit card cutting. My audience tonight again was my aunt as well as my grandmother.